Hello Barbados and welcome to another episode of Money Matters. My name is Zandre Bowen and I am your host for this season. Now remember that Money Matters is a show that seeks to highlight the products and services offered by a number of financial institutions around the island. And this season we are featuring the Barbados Stock Exchange. And today I have with me Mr. Ezra Marshall. Good to meet you. Alright, so tell Barbados a little bit about yourself or what you do at the Barbados Stock Exchange.
Okay, my name is Ezra Marshall. I'm the Deputy General Manager of the Barbados Stock Exchange, and I also have direct responsibility for our subsidiary company, the Barbados Central Securities Depository. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the depository today.
All right. We had numerous discussions about the Barbados Stock Exchange, and I think for the most part, Barbadians are pretty much aware of the existence of the exchange. But we are going to be discussing the Barbados Central Security Depository in this episode. So could you just tell Barbados what the depository is?
Okay, the stock exchange is where all the exciting stuff happens. We've seen pictures on television of persons trading, and it is an exciting proposition, but what actually happens behind that trading activity, that's where the Barbados Central Securities Depository comes in. We are an institution which really caters to the book entry transfer of securities once they have traded on the stock exchange. To give you a little better example, I can give you an example of the history of the stock exchange, where we came from, and what happened before the days of the Barbados Central Securities Depository in 1998. From 1987 to 1998, a person would trade a security, and then 1 week later, maybe 2 weeks later, the broker would deliver a check to the other broker, and that other broker would deliver a share certificate. And that share certificate would have to go to the registrar, and the registrar would transfer the share from the seller to the buyer. Now that process could take 2 weeks, sometimes it took 4. If somebody went on vacation, it could take a little longer. Now yes. in the meantime, if a dividend is issued, that seller has sold the shares, but he still gets the dividend. So what we've done in terms of the introduction of the BCSD, I'll call it the BCSD for short, is we've added some efficiency to the system. So now 3 days after you have had your transaction on the exchange, the seller gets his money and the buyer gets his shares. And that is the crux of what the BCSD is. It enables free movement of securities and cash, and because we have possession of the securities and because we have a cash guarantee in place, we can actually guarantee that 3 days after the transaction has happened, that money sits with your broker, or those shares sit in an account in your name.
All right. So if you were to list the services that the BCSD provides, what would those services be?
Okay, initially, as I said, book entry transfer of securities from seller to buyer or from buyer to seller when transactions occur. We also manage the register for a number of companies, so we are a registrar as well. And as registrar, what we would do, we end up paying dividends to shareholders when dividends are declared. We also send out any correspondence that the issuer may have to send out to the shareholders.
Okay. Now, I remember that back in the day, you actually touched on it, that you got a physical certificate when you purchase shares, and that certificate then had to actually be traded and so forth. Now, I know that there will still be some persons who have those types of certificates which would need to be dematerialized.
Yes.
What is that process like?
In order to register these shares in an account in electronic form, you have to present the share certificate and have it registered with the BCSD. That process, you do a deposit, much like a deposit at the bank, where you present the share certificate. We take the share certificate, we immobilize it, and at the end of the month that the transaction occurs, you will receive a statement showing the balance that you would have deposited. If you have any other transactions during that month, let's say you decided to purchase additional shares or you decided to divest yourself of some of those shares, that activity will be recorded, and at the end of the month, you'll receive a statement stating what activity has gone on in your account.
Okay. One of the services that you highlighted just now, that was the service as a registrar.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that. Is it that you provide that service to all listed companies, or?
Well, we provide the service to all listed companies to a degree. There's some companies who have us as their registrar, and they're their external registrars that we interact with, but we end up being sub-registrar for those companies because we manage a part of that register. What we find is, in terms of delivering the service as of registrar, we maintain the names of the shareholders, and it is very important that if you move, that you supply us with that information, because like other mail, it doesn't follow you when you leave unless you give it a forwarding address. We also send out those dividends to you when dividends are declared. And so it's important that you maintain your records and keep them up to date as well.
So I'll tell Barbados a little bit more about the role that the depository plays as well as a depository. We expanded there just now on the registrar function, but give us a little bit more information about the depository function.
Well, the depository side of things relates to the settlement of all the transactions that happen on the Barbados Stock Exchange. So when a broker takes an order to sell, from the time he puts that order on the board, those securities are frozen so that you can't have any other dealings in them. So in that way, we know that when a transaction is completed, that on 3 days after the transactions, we can deliver those securities from the seller's account to the buyer account. Now, from the money side of things now, we settle in gross securities, meaning that if I trade with you, I will get the securities from you. But we also settle net cash. So if I have brokers, and that broker trades for 10 different people, and some of them are buying and some of them are selling, at the end of the day, he will only have one cash obligation to pay into the BCSD. And that one cash obligation, some brokers will be net to pay, some will be net to receive, but at the end of the day, everything nets out to zero, and your funds sit with your broker on the day of settlement, which is T+3. Now, we settle through the central bank's real-time gross settlement system, and we settle by 10 o'clock every morning. So after, let's say, 10:30, those funds, 10:30, 11, those funds should sit in an account that your broker has access to. So from as early, let's say, as midday on settlement day, you could go to your broker, and chances are they will be in a position to write your check for you.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a short commercial break right here, and then we're going to be back with more Money Matters.
My name is Nicole Knight. I'm a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Cayfield campus. I travel pretty often on my job, and so for conferences and so on, I travel during the summer. Value Vacations is the place to go. They're very efficient. If you want to have a holiday or if you have to plan business travel, I find that they're very efficient, very organized in the way that they do things. So I tend to go to them because I want hassle-free travel, and I find that they deliver that very easily.
The first step to becoming an informed investor is by doing research to understand the investment opportunities.
Welcome back to Money Matters, and we're here with Ezra Marshall from the Barbados Stock Exchange and the Barbados Central Securities Depository. All right, you mentioned before the statements that are issued by the depository. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, when you have a share account with the Barbados Central Securities Depository, we send out a statement every year showing the valuations, and that statement usually comes out at the end of January, beginning of February, and that would outline all the securities that you would hold in your account, and it would show the volumes and the values and give you a nice cash figure so that you can keep track of your investment and see how it has appreciated or how it has depreciated, and give you information essentially to make your investment decisions. Now, at the end of every month as well, we send out statements, but we only send out statements to persons who had activity during the course of that month.
Okay.
So if you've had activity during the course of that month, you'll receive a statement. So if you see a statement and you haven't done anything, or you think you haven't done anything, then talk to your broker.
Yes. Understood. All right. So financial institutions normally require security for different types of loans.
Yes.
All right. Can the shares that you own in a company be used as security, and if so, how does one go about pledging those securities?
Yes, definitely. Previously, or in previous years, you had a situation where when somebody wanted to use their securities as collateral, they would walk to the bank, hand over those certificates, and the bank would put them in the vault, and the bank would hold that as their security. Now, there are two problems there. The first problem is that sometimes you find that when the loan is paid back, that is a difficult task getting back those certificates from the bank. Additionally, the bank may be holding the certificates, and then some person forgot that they have deposited them with the bank, declares them lost, go get some replacement certificates, and then go make a sale.
Yes.
And the bank is left holding the bag, so to speak. So the depository actually goes a step further.
Okay.
So once a person goes to the institution, they say, yes, this is my statement, I want to pledge these securities. And this institution will fill out a pledge form. They will submit that form to us, and we will freeze those securities so that there can be no dealings in the securities until such time as the mortgagor releases them. So you as the shareholder is protected, because as soon as your loan is finished, you can get access to your securities almost immediately, and the bank has the added security of knowing that no dealings can occur in those securities while they have the pledge in place.
Okay. You mentioned the distribution of annual reports, right?
Yes.
Tell us in more detail the role that the BCSD plays in that distribution.
Okay, as registrar, we are the agent for a number of the companies, so we handle all interactions with their shareholders. If you have to get your address changed, you call us. If you have to update your dividend mandate where you want your money to go, you call us. And we're also responsible for distributing any information that issuer has to the shareholders, whether it be a half-yearly report, an annual report, or just a notice that they want to provide with some disclosure to the shareholder. We send out these annual reports, so you'll often receive an envelope with our insignia on it, and it will contain the shareholders' annual report for that particular company, and it will also invite you to the annual general meeting. We usually have a presence at the AGMs, whereby any shareholder who has any query as well can come to us and have their records updated or satisfy any query that they may have, because a lot of people don't know a lot about the Barbados Central Securities Depository. We are in the background of the stock exchange, but what we do is very, very important to the capital market in terms of ensuring that everybody is, every transaction is settled in time, that there's confidence in the whole process. We are responsible for that.
All right. Now, some shares are actually cross-listed.
Yes.
So it's you may have one company that trades in more than one jurisdictions, let's say Barbados and Trinidad.
Yes.
Right? So I, as an investor, may want to purchase shares in one jurisdiction but then sell in another jurisdiction.
Yes.
Tell us the role that the BCSD plays in that process.
Okay, actually the BCSD has made that such a easy process. Previously, if you wanted to sell your shares in Trinidad, you had to send your share certificate down to Trinidad and interact with a Trinidadian broker, etc. And the whole process could have been timely and it could have been costly. The BCSDI now, with our electronic book entry system, we transfer shares between Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica, and the Eastern Caribbean. We can do it within 24 hours, and the cost to you is minimum.
Okay, we'll cut here for another commercial break, and then we're going to be back with more Money Matters.
My name is Nicholas Vaughan and I am a Spanish and French teacher. So because I teach languages, I had the idea that we should really and truly see many parts of the world where those languages are spoken. With our tour to Barcelona in particular, I remember them making sure that the airport transfers at London, those were organized. However, that morning in question, we landed in London really early and the bus was not there. So what we did, we called Value Vacations. This is like the equivalent of about 2 a.m. Barbados time. And quickly they got hold of the bus driver. The two of them communicated and then we were able to find him with great ease. They sent their representatives along and we were very grateful. I highly recommend Value Vacations for anyone who's looking for a travel agent. If you want any company to look after all of your travel needs, Value Vacations is the one for you. I highly recommend it.
To invest successfully, you must first think through exactly what it is you want to accomplish and what resources you have available to make it happen.
Welcome back to More Money Matters, and we're here with Ezra Marshall from the Barbados Stock Exchange. Now, before we went on break, you were talking about the registrar function that the BCSD plays in the market. And what I want to know is, do y'all only provide that services to companies that are listed on the exchange, or?
No, we don't. This service is available to any company that is registered in Barbados or elsewhere.
Yeah.
It is a service that we provide. You can just get in contact with us. We'll give you a demo on how the system works. And the good thing about it is that through our interconnectivity, we can have you able to view your register from anywhere in the world.
Okay.
So you can see a list of your shareholders at any time.
Okay.
We have access available for our registrar clients. And those clients, essentially we provide all the services that a registrar would provide.
Okay, so there's the depository, there's the registrar. Are there any other types of services that the BCSDI provides?
We also provide safekeeping services for persons, where we would maintain documents and other confidential information for persons who may want to deposit. It is an alternative to depositing them in a safety deposit box that you have to pay for. As long as it is a document, we can provide probably a more competitive pricing for maintaining that document. In addition to that, we are also a numbering agency, the registered numbering agency for Barbados. What is the registered numbering agency?
What is it?
We are the agency designated to assign unique identification numbers to securities instruments in Barbados. Previously, you would have to go to the US and go to QSIP International to get a QSIP or ISIN number issued. But Barbados, we do that for the Barbados market. And that ISIN number is actually an identification number that identifies your security globally. So if you go to Bloomberg, if you go to Reuters, and you pull up the information on that particular ISIN, you can be guaranteed that you are the only company that will show up.
Okay.
Right?
All right. So, going back to these safekeeping services that you all offer, who's eligible to access that service?
Well,
everyone.
The service is accessible to the public. You come in, we will just do a little walkthrough as to how we provide the service, what the rules are. You'll have an agreement to sign, and you'll see our obligations and your obligations, and then we just maintain your document here. You can come back for it anytime during our business hours, and we will be happy to facilitate it.
All right. We're going to take a short commercial break, and then we're going to be back with more Money Matters.
Investment values can fluctuate and cause you to lose money. This is a reality of the investment markets, and it's the responsibility of you and your advisor to ensure that the investments you choose are suitable for your risk tolerance and personal circumstances.
All right. So in terms of an IPO, what role does the Barbados Central Depository play in that scenario?
Okay, right now, for an IPO to occur, the issuer usually goes through a broker. However, unless the broker wants to manage that whole process in Excel sheets, then the BCSD offers a more efficient way in which these offers can be put into the market, and we have software that can accept the subscriptions of the persons in the market who are offering to buy shares in an IPO. If that offer is fully subscribed, it can do the allocations in accordance with a certain set of rules.
Okay.
When that process is finished and the allocation is complete, it can issue the shares and generate share certificates or statements for those individuals, so that from start to finish, the BCSDI can provide the software service to the broker to ensure that there's a very smooth transition into the offer. The software is also versatile enough that we handle takeovers as well. So whenever a takeover is in the market, we provide the software service for the brokers to enter the persons who would have accepted the transaction and then move those shares into an account where they can cross the board.
Okay.
Right?
All right, so we are coming to the end of another episode of Money Matters, and I just want to know, is there any final statements that you would like to make to the Barbadian public?
Well, the Barbados Central Securities Depository is not as, can I say, sexy as the Barbados Stock Exchange in terms of our presence in the market, but what we do is very important in ensuring the efficiency and transparency of all the transactions that happen on the Barbados Stock Exchange. We do an excellent job in maintaining the integrity of the information that is provided by the shareholders and ensuring that everybody gets what is due to them and on time, especially as it relates to their dividend, their money, and their investments.
All right, Mr. Ezra Marshall, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. My name is Zandre Bowen. Join us again next week for another episode of Money Matters.